This is zoomed way on into this area. This is basically here where it would be, if you look at some of these street names, there's, Corey Lane, this one, it's hard for me to see that one, but anyway, these are some of the different areas that are included, and this is just right on in those areas. This radar image too, this may be in a little bit in advance of where we're seeing it at this time, but what we're looking at is here you've got the different colors, the greens and the reds close together. So on our velocity data, that certainly indicates where there is that potential for rotation. And also what we're seeing too with this warning is they're trimming it down. So remember, originally as we started out here, it was out over the Gulf waters or out over the water, ahead of the coast as it was moving on shore, and we were seeing very clear rotation out there over the water. There's a chance there was a water spout with it, or sometimes the rotation too can be aloft, or it's up in the storm and it's not actually down on the surface. We can look at our debris tracker as well too, and what that is that shows you if there's actually stuff that's flying around in the air. The radar can decipher between raindrops and actually debris, and a lot of times what debris is, it's leaves. Insulation is something obviously that's lightweight and flies up in the air, and when we have tornadoes that strike, the debris tracker can determine what's different from actual raindrops in the area. So I'm looking at this debris tracker now. So here it is, and it's this area that we're really focused in on. Nothing is really standing out, so hopefully with this particular cell, we have the rotation, but it's not actually in contact with the ground. Sometimes these things can come down very briefly, and then they lift back up. And it seems like Alabama has been an area that's really been hit by tornadoes this season. So southwest Alabama and then up into central Alabama as well, while northwest Florida has basically not seen as much in the way of tornadic activity here. We've been kind of lucky in areas of northwest Florida. Certainly, that's been the case. So, again, that's the debris tracker. There's just nothing that's really standing out at this time.
Anything meaningful. And I mentioned earlier, Alan, a lot of these cells, they're going to be short-lived. They're not going to be long-track, hour-long tornadoes or even tornado warnings, which is good news. This one, truly, it had its 10 minutes of fame and has kind of petered out over land. And that's more or less a trend we may see. The immediate coastline, you'll see these warnings come in, and then they go 10 miles north into either northwest Florida or, in this case, southwest Alabama, and they'll begin to wrap out, maybe the exception being that tornado warning up there in northern Mobile County. But that's some encouraging news, though, to see these things kind of lose their steam as they quite literally move off of the Gulf of Mexico, where there's a little bit less friction. Things can play around a little bit easier out there over the Gulf without all that friction, as you see, kind of wrapping out there. So some initial good news on the 2 tornado warnings we've had so far. We haven't seen either tornado warning get worse, and we haven't even had a confirmation of a tornado yet on the 2 warnings we've seen thus far early this morning. You can see Alan moving around, showing you just the whole setup. It's a very broken line of storms, which would lend itself potentially to a higher tornado risk. It's a very, very large system.
Yeah, well, and what we were seeing earlier in the day too was, a lot of times when you have, say, a warm front come through the area,
right,
you have these little supercells that are actually out ahead of the line. And what we saw earlier in the day back toward Texas and areas of Louisiana where we did have tornado reports, and those were the tornado reports were earlier in the day. Texas, numerous tornado reports, and it was actually it was a very strong line, so the tornadoes were embedded within that line. So this line is now looking a lot different. It's really quite broken up, and it looks much different than it did when it was back over Texas and moving into Louisiana. It was a very nice sort of linear, thick, heavy-duty line of shower and thunderstorm activity, and now it's busting up, but there's still that potential that these cells can end up with rotation, and that's certainly what we're seeing, and we were seeing big time with this one that's over Mobile County. So that tornado warning is continuing. Both of these warnings still in effect and in effect until 1:30 in the morning. So we're staying on the air right now to alert our friends in Alabama as to what's going on. We're, of course, here out of WEAR TV in Pensacola, Florida. We're watching this. This is the WEAR TV area as well, Northwest Florida and Southwest Alabama. We are the ABC affiliate for the area, and we want to let folks know what's going on. I mean, we were under an enhanced risk of severe weather. That was something we've been watching here for the last couple of days as we were looking at this potential for strong storms and tornadic activity to potentially be moving through the area. And now it's on top of us. It's closed in on Southwest Alabama, and this is going to be moving over areas of Northwest Florida as we head through these wee hours, these overnight hours. Now, all of this should be out of our WEAR TV zone by probably sometime around 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock, depending on where you are. As it's going to be tracking over areas of Escambia, Santa Rosa, and then Okaloosa counties, and then moving out of Walton County. Our morning show here starts at 4:30 in the morning, and that's about the time we expect that this should be moving on and moving out of the area, as you can see. So lightning strikes too, we're seeing some lightning strikes. If you look closely, you could see some strikes here and there, but not like what we do see sometimes around here where it's just tremendous lightning in the area. There's a little cell right there that's appears to be moving onshore around Fort Pickens. Nothing to worry about with that, but a few little rain cells that are popping up out ahead.
I do want to make a mention, Alan, and it's going to come down here shortly from the Weather Service. We were tracking a cell off of Dauphin Island, and you can see the 2 tornado warnings we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes or so. There's a third cell, believe it or not, out of this whole mess, and I'm going to zoom in on it and show you what exactly I'm referring to because you're seeing a lot of color on our map right now. There's a third cell coming up on the island there, Dauphin Island, that has some pretty significant rotation, and in the next minute or so, or next 5 minutes maybe at the absolute latest, they're going to go ahead and issue a tornado warning on what we're seeing there on Dauphin Island, and this will likely be a cell that's also veering off to the northeast into Mobile Bay, which could include Point Clear up to Daphne and the western coast there of Baldwin County. From Point Clear all the way down to US 98 and Foley. So it's not up there yet, but that cell you're looking at right over Dauphin Island, producing some pretty significant rotation, much like that previous cell was. And this one, it looks like it's going to have a little bit more land, or I should say water to tread with, which could keep the rotation alive a little bit longer. So something we'll have to watch. That's something they're concerned about. This might not go over land and peter out. This might have a little bit longer of a runway, if you will, up into Mobile Bay, Alan.
Yeah, that'll be shifting up over the waters here, and then
they've issued it. There it is.
Yeah, there's the warning. Yeah. So this one, if you notice too, this is really just only as far as land areas are concerned. This is only including Dauphin Island, and actually this one as well.
1:30
until 1:30. So a lot of times the tornado warnings are around 45 minutes. I was thinking they might have this go until about 2 o'clock. But if this continues to move over Mobile Bay and continues to show that rotation as it heads toward areas like Point Clear and the eastern shore there, we may end up seeing another warning issued from it. But sometimes these things do end up bringing basically spin up or a sort of a tornado threat, and then they die down, and then they can sort of recycle. So as we take a look at our velocity data, this is a pretty good sample of it in motion as well. So this is just going to clip that area right around Dauphin Island. I mean, it looks like it's going to run right over the spot where the aquarium is, and that edge of Dauphin Island where the ferry lands here, and the aquarium is at Dauphin Island, and you've got a lot of big community there of homes and vacation homes and such. So anybody around that area of Dauphin Island should be in their safe spot. You can see that image as we go through time. We're looking at an hour's worth of data. As we get toward the end of the image here, the imagery, you see some more colors starting to appear on the map, which doesn't indicate a weakening. It might be actually indicating a strengthening with that particular storm. So, I mean, it is like right there at the edge of Dauphin Island, and it is moving toward the northeast, and these storms have been moving northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So they're running through very, very quickly. I mean, this, if it's not right on top of that portion of Dauphin Island where the ferry lands, where the aquarium is, and where some of those homes and vacation places are, it may soon be out over the open waters of Mobile Bay here soon. So that it's all happening very, very quickly. So safe place, just in case this thing is on the surface and can cause damage. Safe place to be, when we talk about a safe place, we're talking about an interior hallway or interior room away from doors and windows. You want to be in a safe spot on the lowest level of the structure, building, house, lowest level, away from doors and windows. And a good reminder, too, if you end up in a situation where you're in a tornado warning and you head down to your safe spot and you're just waiting it out to see what happens, you hope that passes by and you don't end up with any damage, take shoes. You want to have shoes with you, because if you do end up in a scenario where there's damage or there's debris and stuff that's flying around, when you come out of your safe spot, you might have to walk around through that, so you don't want to be stepping on anything. So shoes are always a good thing to have. A lot of times people take, protective gear as well, sometimes even helmets or things like that that can help protect you. But this is the area where we have a tornado warning right there over Dauphin Island. You can see on our velocity data, which I'm checking out there, that is right there at the edge of Dauphin Island, near the area where the aquarium and the ferry lands there. So that particular tornado warning is in effect until 1:30, as are the other ones. And this one just extending out over Mobile Bay. So they've put the polygon on the map here for that area. Let me move it down. You can see the edge of the polygon right here. So that's this particular warning. They chose not to include basically Baldwin County in that warning, but you'll see that the storm is headed up toward the eastern shore area. It's got its sights set on Point Clear. And folks, around that area, around Point Clear and this zone on down to, near where the Grand is and such, be on alert. Just know that we've got a thunderstorm that's been tornado warned that's heading on up toward that area. I'm going to check again check the velocity data and see if it looks any different, again, for that particular spot right there. Yeah, so it's now, according to radar and this imagery, it now looks like it's moving away from Dauphin Island and out over Mobile Bay. There may be a water spout within that particular cell as it is moving toward the northeast very rapidly at about 50 miles per hour. So now, really, the threat is mainly going to be for anybody that would be out over the bay. So, just looking at that imagery right there, it does appear to be moving away from Dauphin Island at this time. If you're in your safe spot and you're listening to us right here on WAR TV and you're at Dauphin Island, maybe just give it a few more moments just to make sure that the map and the imagery is lined up on the right spot there. But that's the way it appears here as we look at that velocity data on our radar imagery here. Let's go up here too. I'm going to move again and shift on up toward other areas of southwest Alabama. Go ahead, Joseph.
The warning further to the north, near, I believe, Theodore and Dog River, Alabama. A little bit of a re-strengthening. Maybe not. Yeah, I believe it's either that one or the one just south of it. That's a little further north. That one's actually moving out of our immediate viewing area. It's the cell that's coming up on Mobile, Tillman's Corner. Yeah, that one right in the middle. We have 1, 2, 3 from north to south, and it's the one right in the middle coming up on Mobile, downtown Mobile, really, at that point on the south end of town. That one seems to be having a little bit of re-strengthening east of Theodore, potentially some more rotation on that middle cell. And then they went ahead and just issued a severe thunderstorm warning for the entire thing. So for that, their thinking is, anybody within that southern end of that line, all the way down to Dauphin Island, up to Stockton, Alabama, there in Baldwin County, you could potentially see damaging wind gusts. On top of that tornado threat, too, 60-mile-per-hour winds.
And that severe thunderstorm warning, it's going to be kind of hard to see, but it includes a very large area.
Yeah, let's take that full.
Yeah, Brian, bring it up full here, and we can show you this. So I'll draw it on the map for you, and you'll see where we're talking about. So here's the polygon. I'll kind of go on the outside of it. That's the severe thunderstorm warning. It's a very large area. A lot of times, too, what they'll put in the language with these severe thunderstorm warnings is that it's a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible. This one is going to be in effect until 2 o'clock in the morning. So obviously in this area of southwest Alabama, just hanging out in a safe spot until this storm passes over is really the best thing to do. They're leaving up these tornado warnings here. We've got about another 10 minutes on them. This one out here it's out over Mobile Bay at this time. So it's moved away from Dauphin Island, but the severe thunderstorm warning includes this large area, so it includes like what had been talking about, around Point Clear. I mean, it includes Daphne and those areas as these storms will be moving through. So damaging winds possible with that. We talked about earlier in the day as well about the high wind warning. So this is it's coming through as a very breezy system too, with windy weather as well. It's out of the south, and then back behind all of this, what we're going to do is we're going to see that wind come shifting in from the west, and that'll help to blow in some cooler air behind these thunder showers. But also what we've seen, though, with this strong south flow coming up is a warming of our temperatures, and temperatures surged. I mean, throughout the entire day on Tuesday, of course, we're officially now into Wednesday, but throughout the day, temperatures were in the 50s all day long here across northwest Florida and southwest Alabama. And then it wasn't until the nighttime hours that things started to warm up. And that's what happens sometimes with these warm front scenarios, it just depends on the timing. It's just kind of reverse in this sense with the warm front coming through at night when normally temperatures would cool down. It's bringing warmer air up into the area because this particular system has so much energy, and it is huge too. For some, it's a monster winter storm. For us, we're on the warm side of it, and it is a tornado threat for us here late tonight and overnight. Of course, it's still tonight for me, maybe for you. It is morning here as we are going into Wednesday morning, approaching 1:30. So what we're going to see here at 1:30 is these red polygons will drop off the map, and then this orange polygon where we have a severe thunderstorm warning will stay on the map. Now, we could see more tornado warnings. Wouldn't surprise me if we do, as this continues to head and move toward the east. It's running really at about 50 miles per hour or so. So you could check this out, and again, I'll give you some of the communities. Hang on, you got. Yeah, your handoff mouse, and thanks, man. Hang on, let me get back to that. So what I'll show you here is some of the other communities here that'll be basically impacted by this, especially over portions of northwest Florida. So the overall, the individual cells are moving northeast at about 50 miles per hour. The whole system is basically moving at about 50 miles per hour. So as it gets into northwest Florida, which it's going to be happening soon, basically you can see some of the communities that are included within this. Foley's in southwest Alabama. That's in Baldwin County. It's basically on top of that area or soon to be there. Century, we're looking at, maybe another 10 to 15 minutes or so from now. And then Pensacola, it's going to be closer to 2 o'clock. And we'll probably see some more warnings issued that would include Pensacola. Milton, after 2 o'clock here, you've got Munson there that is closer to 2:15 or so, maybe between 2:10 and 2:15. Could be a severe thunderstorm warning, could be a tornado warning. It will depend. If we're seeing that rotation in these individual cells, the National Weather Service is going to be issuing a tornado warning for those. But this is busted up. I mean, this is a busted up line now. It looks a lot different than it did earlier in the day, as you can see. And there's overall picture looking at the last hour of imagery with this system just continuing to move toward the east. So what we'll do when these tornado warnings drop at 1:30 here in about 5 minutes, we're gonna drop off the air, and if we need to come back on, we certainly will, and we're gonna hang out here for our friends in northwest Florida also, and let you know if anything pops up here as we head through these overnight hours and continue to watch this batch of severe thunderstorms that's pushing through the area. It does feel like it's been a busy season here, especially for areas of Alabama with tornadoes. Joseph?
Absolutely. They're going to let 2 of them expire, by the way, early.
Okay.
So the one on top and the one on bottom over Mobile Bay are going to be allowed to expire. If we take the radar full, I can actually tell you which ones they're going to let expire. The one to the north, this one right here as I cross it out with an X. The one to the south, they're going to let that one expire as well. The one in the middle re-strengthened a little bit. It's the one due south of Mobile, downtown Mobile. That one goes until 1:30. I'm expecting they'll let that one go for the next 5 minutes. Actually, they're going to let that one expire now, too. So now all three are set to expire, Alan, here very shortly. They're going to let that run for probably another couple minutes for safe measure. Now, they're going to be allowed to expire, but I can't go without mentioning, and I believe the next graphic above, or actually let me go all the way to your velocity input. All of these are going to expire, so very shortly we're not going to have any more tornado warnings. But as I zoom out, and let me go ahead and try to zoom in here. Give me one moment, please.
Yeah, and the one, yeah, if you look at that, we're likely to see a tornado warning that'll be issued for Baldwin County for that. I mean, that's a clear sign right there of rotation. You know, as you look at this, you've got a clear sign of, you know, the cool colors here, the greens, and then the reds. So it's over Mobile Bay at this time. You know, there's a chance there's a water spout with it. Here's Point Clear. You know, you've got the eastern shore right here. So this is the bay. And that's, I don't see any reason they wouldn't issue a tornado warning for that particular cell, because it certainly looks pretty intense on our velocity data. So with signs like that, you know, and it's nighttime too. If it was daytime, storm spotters could be out, or law enforcement or different folks could be out actually looking. We have, you know, there's a network of storm spotters that are trained to know what to see, but it's you're not gonna be able to see anything looking out over the bay right now from that particular cell, or it'd be very difficult to see that. So these are all going to be radar, or for the most part will be radar indicated warnings and tornado warnings. So yeah, I would say we're likely to see something with that. It's probably going to be something that will be in effect until 2 o'clock in the morning, and it would include areas of the eastern shore right on up into Baldwin County, maybe as far, maybe even a little bit north of Interstate 10 from that particular cell. So it looks, you know, on velocity data, as you take a look at that, you know, it certainly looks like there is some rotation with that particular one. I'm going to bring it back on in for a closer view there. Right over Mobile Bay is where we're seeing that. So we'll see what the National Weather Service does decide to do with that particular storm. There's a newer image that just popped into, I don't know if you noticed that, as it kind of clicked into a new image, as the radar is just basically scanning out. You know, it takes a little bit of time to send out that beam, get the return, and then process the data and get it out to us. But that's velocity doing its thing right there, and showing us where we have rotation that's headed toward the coastal area there of Baldwin County. As you look at it on radar imagery, you'll see it right here. So that's the storm cell right there, where you've got the heavy rain out over the bay, and already some of that rain has spread onto areas of Baldwin County. So we're a couple minutes from 1:30. We'll see what's going to happen. I want to show you some of the communities that are in the path of that as well as we take it on in. So, you know, we're talking about around Highway 98 there. You know, this is going to be mainly south of Fairhope. You know, we've got Barnwell. This is Highway 98 right there. You know, Point Clear is right there. Beautiful area there. Battles Wharf and some of these spots. Just a very nice area of Baldwin County, and you know, our radar imagery, it's showing that there's very heavy rain within that area. I'll stop it right here, so that's kind of flashing around a little bit, but you could see some of the roads and such. You know, County Road 32 right there. You've got some other spots here on our map. Let me zoom it back out, and we'll get you a view of it. So the heavy rain is already hitting these areas that might end up being under a tornado warning here with that cell that is out over Mobile Bay. Let's take a look at this velocity shot again, a different view of it, and there it is, and that is moving toward the northeast. I'll check in with these guys again
and they've gone ahead and issued, so they do have a new tornado warning in effect. Let me get that out for you here.
So that's going to be in effect until 2:15. So it's for the one that we were talking about. You know, and in the statement it says a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 4 miles south of Point Clear, and it's moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. So as you see this map, these are going to drop off here in about 20 seconds, and then this is the warning now for. This is for Baldwin County, so it does extend and goes north of Interstate 10, and this will be in effect until 2:15. So again, like we had mentioned, at 45 minutes often is what you see on these tornado warnings, and it's 45 minutes of time that we've got as that's going to be moving very quickly, as it was mentioned in the statement. That is moving toward the northeast at about 55 miles per hour. So that is going to be flying over Baldwin County. So if you're just joining us, I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Strum. I've got Joseph Neubauer in-house as well. We are tracking severe thunderstorms and a line that's now sort of a broken, messy line of showers moving across southwest Alabama. This is going to be shifting into northwest Florida. We've had multiple tornado warnings here over areas of southwest Alabama. We don't have any reports of tornadoes striking yet, but this particular cell has had rotation within it. So if you're just joining us, a lot of times what happens is people get an alert on their phone, and the technology now is just amazing when you can get an alert specific to your area, which potentially maybe you're right here and you're just turning on the TV and you're saying, what's going on? Well, you're under a tornado warning. Best advice I can give is if you're within this polygon, this red zone right here, go ahead and head into your safe spot until it's safe, until this passes over the area and moves along. You'll hear a bit of thunder and lightning, rain on the roof and things like that. And safe space, when we say that, we're talking about an interior hallway or an interior room away from doors and windows is the best place to be. You want to be on the lowest level of the floor as well. Take shoes with you too, just in case we do have a touchdown with this and we end up seeing a tornado strike. So what we were watching was the velocity data with this, and this cell had really a well-defined area on our map there, and you can see it too. So velocity is a product that tells us when particles, often in most cases, raindrops head toward and away from the radar. So the radar is over here at the airport in Mobile. It's over there on the west end of Mobile. And this is what we've got. You're looking at an hour loop. So this is the area that we're concerned about. And this is why that tornado warning is in effect. So Point Clear is right there. Anybody around Point Clear, south of Point Clear here, where 98 turns up toward the north in Baldwin County, you want to take cover at this time because this is showing it's a clear sign of rotation. It doesn't necessarily, it's radar indicated. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is striking the ground, but it could be, and that's why the tornado warning has been issued. So this is rolling northeast at 55 miles per hour. It's headed up toward, looks like right toward Loxley and Interstate 10 and some other areas like this. Traditional radar view right there showing you just heavy rain over that area around Point Clear, and that's where the worst part of the storm is. You can see that those other tornado warnings have been dropped. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that continues as well for these areas around Mobile. That's going to sit, and if you look at that area, that it extends back toward this area where there really isn't a threat, but that's the guys there are busy, so that's probably not going to be dropped. But that's where the polygon is for that severe thunderstorm warning. And then our polygon right here is, if you look closely, that's the red area over Baldwin County. That's where we have a tornado warning, and it's just going to be shooting up here from right around Point Clear or just south of Point Clear near Highway 98, shooting up through this polygon toward Interstate 10 and toward that area around Loxley. This tornado warning continues until 2:15. So we're starting to see a little bit of rain too around Walnut Hill. No threat for you folks up there. The tornado warning does not include Escambia County. We'll see if it holds together and we continue to see that rotation. Then a little bit later on, maybe around 2 or so, we may see another warning issued for that area. But for Escambia County, Florida, we're in the clear right now. Same thing in Escambia, Alabama, but it's Baldwin County that we do have this tornado warning in effect at this time. So this loop now taking us back, through the last basically hour or so, and you can see the whole system is moving toward the east, and we've got some of these cells down here over the Gulf waters. We'll watch those for rotation also, but at this time, the biggest threat is down here over Baldwin County. That's where we are. That's where we're seeing this particular cell right here. Again, checking things out right there, around Point Clear, and this is starting to move on. Let me get that velocity data back up again and see if we've seen any changes.
I'll pause
I'm hoping for changes with it. Well, in this case, it looks like it's broadening out a little bit, so that is good news, just looking at the velocity. So earlier on, let's play it. There you can see, earlier on it had more of a sort of a tighter look when you were looking at those different colors, and now it looks a little bit different on our map. I'm going to check in with these these guys at the National Weather Service, see if we've got anything from them.
Absolutely, and I'll zoom out a little bit too, so we can get an even better picture of the entire system as a whole. It's large. Like Alan talked about, people 500 miles to the north are seeing snow right now, and we're seeing the severe weather end of this big low pressure system that you maybe or maybe not heard brought severe weather down to Houston, seeing some severe weather and tornadoes out there. And for us, it's a very broken line of storms. Alan mentioned we had several cells offshore that we're going to have to watch eventually for our end of the system here in Northwest Florida. No guarantee any of this stuff actually moves ashore and produces tornadoes, but we've seen a history for our friends out in Mississippi and now here in Alabama, and we could see a little switch up here shortly for maybe some systems and some spin-ups here locally for Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa County over the next hour or so, but nothing's a given at this point as we take a look at the line as a whole. No new updates from the Weather Service, by the way. They are solely focused right now on what's going on near Point Clear, Fairhope, just north of Foley, right up to US 90, Interstate 10 in the next 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and this warning does continue until 2:15, although these storms are moving so rapidly. They're moving so quickly through the area. You can see right here, tornado warning until 2:15 for Baldwin County. Now, if it moves out of the area or if we see a weakening with that particular cell and that particular storm, here's your text data, tornado warning 2:15. Wednesday morning in Baldwin County. If we see a weakening, they may end up canceling that warning before 2:15, before it's set to expire, but that's the timing of it, and we're basically staying on the air right now with you to alert our friends in Baldwin County as to what's going on with this particular cell and this particular storm system. Let's check back in on this velocity data, which has been giving us a pretty good and clear picture. So it still looks like it's really around Highway 98 in that area right there where we're seeing some rotation, but it does seem to be not quite as tight as what we were looking at earlier on. So maybe it was a water spout out over the water and the radar was picking up on that. And a lot of times, though, when you do have water spouts and they're over the water, they move onshore and they immediately weaken. But of course, they can cause some damage as they move onshore. So it may have been a water spout that is weakening. Obviously, some speculation. It's nighttime. Nobody has been able to confirm anything with that, but around Point Clear. And to the east of Point Clear is where the threat is. So Highway 98 runs here and then shifts on up toward the north, and that's where that storm is. And again, our polygon here, including this large portion of Baldwin County that does include Interstate 10 and some areas just north of the interstate, and it just stops shy here of Escambia County, Florida, so it stops right there at the Florida Alabama line. Back toward areas around Biloxi and such, they dropped that tornado watch. We'll start to see some clearing of the watch as the worst part of the storm system continues tracking toward the east here over areas of southwest Alabama and northwest Florida. So northwest Florida soon to see this. And the timing of it, if you're in, say, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, or Escambia counties, it's going to be over the next several hours that this moves through as the line is moving at probably 45, 50 miles per hour to the east, and some of these individual cells are moving, in some cases, faster at like 55 miles per hour toward the northeast, like this particular one that is over Baldwin County right now. So tornado watch continues here until this continues until 5 o'clock in the morning, so the watch area is this yellow zone right here. And a tornado watch means, hey, we're looking out for any bad weather, and then the tornado warning is where you have more of an imminent danger, and that's what we've got with the Doppler radar indicated tornado that is over Baldwin County at this time. So overall picture right here, as we take a look at that, our storm system that's moving toward the east. This is shifting on in. It really looks quite disorganized right now. Much different than it did when it was back over areas of Texas, but we'll give you some timing here as we head into areas like Santa Rosa and Escambia County. So, this is soon to be in Gulf Shores, very soon. Gulf Shores is not under a tornado warning, you folks not there. We're looking at about maybe 10 minutes or so from hitting Century, and then maybe about 10 minutes after 2 o'clock. This is an estimate on time, but Pensacola can expect some of the heavy rain, thunder, and lightning, and pushing between 215 and 220. Milton can expect to see that portion of the storm there as it heads into Santa Rosa County and continues to move toward the east. We've been mentioning too that the out time on this for the WEAR zone, would be maybe around, for Okaloosa, Walton counties around 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it looks like that certainly is likely to happen before then, should happen a little bit sooner than 5 o'clock in the morning. But there you go. What is not as well put together a line of storms as what we were seeing back toward Texas, but it does have a threat, and we are no doubt seeing some rotation within this particular cell that is over Baldwin County. They've trimmed it up a little bit now, so it no longer includes Point Clear, but it includes areas just toward the east of Point Clear and then on over Interstate 10 and then shifting on up toward the Perdido River in that area, stopping just shy of the Perdido River with this particular tornado warning in effect until 2:15. And Joseph, we mentioned some of the tornado, safety ideas or tips, and we've got some graphics on that. Scroll down a little bit, you'll see those if you want to go over some of those. It should be within that lineup.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of these tips when you hear about tornadoes, that they're so simple, and sometimes it's like, well, no duh. You know kind of where to go when there's a tornado warning or any type of severe weather. But when it's happening, it's easy to forget, and it's interesting. I have people that live in this area. They ask me about, hey, if this happens overnight, where should we go? And I still get this question, even though it seems like a very simple answer. I still get the question just about every single severe weather event because it's happening quickly, and you're liable to forget some things as you're quickly springing into action. And you see it there, the inside of a house. That green shaded area where you should be, the most ideal location to be within a tornado warning. The most interior location, absolutely. So this is a spot in your house that does not have any windows. It's as far away from the outside walls as you can get. Ideally, have it be on the lowest floor. I tell this story from time to time. I lived in a 2-story house growing up, and I learned this the hard way when we had a tornado come knocking there in North Texas, and we had windows blow out, and being on that second floor was not a great time. First floor, older brothers, they were fine. So absolutely, first floor, if you can do it, get away from the windows. And of course, things like helmets, blankets, pillows. What we did is we took one of the smaller mattresses and just put it right over the bathtub, which did not have any exterior walls. So put a nice, easy to lift mattress overhead, and we rode it out for years and years there in North Texas. That was what we did, and this is a very, very easy schematic, if you will, of where you should be. Especially during a nocturnal system like this, where it's coming in overnight, everything's dark. Just be mindful, and it's always good to be refreshed, especially when it's happening overnight. No less during a school night when everybody, maybe going to bed a little bit earlier. Now you're waking up, you hear the thunder, you see the lightning. Always good to have these type of things reminded. Lowest floor, away from the windows, and centermost portion of the house, if you can do it. And I know we have a lot of viewers out of Northwest Florida. We're not quite within any type of significant weather just yet. As I back up and show you just a large view, kind of going through our little rundown here, showing you sort of the behind-the-scenes look. We're still not in it just yet. We are not under any type of warning here in Northwest Florida, and no doubt we have lots of people watching from Escambia County, Florida, even Escambia County, Alabama, Santa Rosa County, and Okaloosa County, and we are still, I would say, about 30 to 45 minutes out, maybe 30 at the shortest there for portions of Escambia County, Florida, next 30 minutes or so. But for Santa Rosa County and for Okaloosa County, we are still just seeing mist and some heavy showers. That is about it right now. The spot in question that the Weather Service is really honing in on in the areas where you need to be taking your safety precautions, Robertsdale, Loxley, all the way up to Interstate 10, north of Interstate 10 there in Baldwin County. These are the areas within this red polygon, this little red box. Those folks in there need to be in their safe area. You can continue to listen to us, turn up the volume real loud on the TV if you can, and get to your safe area and turn us up loud, or you can do it on the phone too. Also, some good advice if you are watching from Northwest Florida and you're keeping an eye on this, check your phone battery. I mean, stuff like that can save you hours and hours in case, worst case scenario, you lose power. You will be good to go for the morning. Always a great advice, keeping the phone charged, having that external battery. Not bad advice here, even throughout severe weather season. Usually that's something we talk about for hurricane season, all those little extra miscellaneous things you keep in the house. Not bad to have those here in the middle of winter when we're having our severe weather season, Alan.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, too, that, anytime you leave and go out of town, you can still catch us, WEARTV.com, and when we stream every newscast live, and we be streaming our coverage, during hurricane season. This warning, the National Weather Service is saying that the rotation has weakened significantly to the east of Fairhope, so that's going to be right there in that zone. So we'd like to see that and hear that, but we're still just basically watching this particular cell and watching this storm. Let's take a look again at our velocity data, and it looks totally different than what we saw out over Mobile Bay. This is a different storm, so this is an indication that the threat is not as intense as it was before. They are holding on to this tornado warning. If they decide to cancel this before its expiration time of 2:15, then we'll let you know. But we're going to go ahead and hang out on the air right now and just keep watching this particular cell. Sometimes what we do see is, you see it intensify, and then what ends up happening is it does end up weakening here once it'll intensify, it'll weaken, and then sometimes it'll re-intensify. But as we look at the velocity data right now, and as I check out that storm, it's not showing what we saw out over Mobile Bay a little bit earlier on when this particular cell really had some rather intense rotation indicated with it. It was around Dauphin Island, right there near the aquarium, and then it shifted over the bay. There might have been a water spout. If it was a water spout, sometimes when the water spouts come ashore, oftentimes what happens is the water spout immediately weakens, and that certainly could have been the case with this particular one. Let's look at this overall picture. We'll zoom it out again. That's our polygon right there that we've got our tornado warning. So we're talking about this spot right here over Baldwin County, really right around Interstate 10 is where the worst of the weather is. And this whole, this particular cell is moving toward the northeast really quickly at about 55 miles per hour. But the overall line is shifting toward the east and moving along at a pretty good pace as well, around 50 miles per hour. We've got a few showers that have popped up out ahead over Milton. It looks like we've got a little bit of rain there. Also around Fort Walton Beach, a little bit of rain in that area. But this is now moving away from Mobile County. There's still some right there around the causeway and areas of downtown Mobile, some heavy rain, and that severe thunderstorm warning continues. But this is right on top of Baldwin County, and it's almost like the line is maybe getting a little bit better organized, but we've been seeing it sort of break apart. It was a very tight, heavy-duty line back over areas of Texas and into Louisiana where we had embedded tornadoes within that particular line, and up around Walnut Hill into areas around Century. We're seeing a little bit of rainy weather, and we're going to be watching as well for some of these areas offshore, for any particular rotation. Let's take a look out there, see if anything stands out at this time. And looking at our velocity, nothing standing out right now, nothing popping up. We keep an eye on something like that little spot right there. Can you see that? Where you're seeing sort of a lighter green and a darker green, but we'll watch those areas as those will continue to move onshore here with that rainy weather. This is from earlier when we were tracking that cell that was in the northern portion of Mobile County. So yeah, our severe weather outlook as well, it did have us in a 3 out of 5 for today, and we were seeing multiple tornadoes back toward Texas and Louisiana. All right, so looking at this, Joseph, have they dropped that tornado warning?
Let me check.
Because it looks like it's no longer showing up over Baldwin County. Look over here.
I still have it on my end.
Yeah,
but
they've canceled that. Yeah, so that's been canceled.
That's good.
So that tornado warning has been canceled there for Baldwin County. So it's just a line of thunderstorms at this time that's moving through, but we may see some rotation develop out of these, and as it continues to march across areas of northwest Florida, we'll keep you updated, and we'll be back on the air with any additional information if need be. But in the meantime, we're going to head back to regular programming. You can catch us online at WEARTV.com. Chime in with your photos and things like that. Hit us up on our social media sites as well. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Strom, joined with Joseph Neubauer. We'll be back if we have any more information regarding the tornado watch and tornado warnings.
You had was probably a pretty good estimation of what's going on there near Orange Beach and that stretch of Baldwin County. Some very heavy rainfall over the Perdido area. If we have Perdido Key just to the east there. It does include a little sliver, by the way, of Escambia County, Florida. Let's put that in motion just so you can see the overall direction of what we're seeing. Moving off to the northeast, I believe probably at about 50 to 55 miles per hour, Alan, on that one, just east of Orange Beach, eventually maybe moving into just north of the airbase there in NAS.
Yeah, if Brian will pop up WeatherNet, you can see that camera too that you were talking about, Joseph, and it really looks like the winds are kicking around there at this time. So it's on our WeatherNet computer.
Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, you could see how, I'm going to tilt this down just a little bit on our camera, and you can kind of get a perspective there as you look at the rooftop.
Rain's going from south to north, so a pretty strong, stout south wind right there.
That's from the Island House Hotel. That's where this camera is. We recently got this one back online, so yeah, we had a wind gust out of Mobile that was 55 miles per hour as the storms were moving through, and we were expecting wind gusts, to be on that order, and so that sort of confirms what's going on. I'm gonna swing this camera back around, and
That's incredible.
we'll take a look at this area here around Orange Beach, Alabama. Yeah, I mean that just shows that that storm is really flying through that area. Looks like no traffic at this time around that area. And again, best thing to do is just hang out in a safe spot until this this passes over the area. We'll go back, yeah. So that's Orange Beach, and also, for Perdido Key, you folks there are under this tornado warning. This is in effect until 2:30. We're going to stay on the air for you too, and just kind of talk you through this here until that warning is expired or canceled. So if you are just joining us, there's a tornado warning that includes a portion of Baldwin County and Escambia County, Florida. So this is in effect until 2:30. We were looking at rotation that was out over the Gulf, and now that's likely right around the Perdido Key area, or right around the area where the Floribama is and where the Florida-Alabama state line is, rolling right on up toward Perdido Bay. And Joseph, take us to the velocity, and we'll check that out again. And these have been moving toward the northeast at about a good 50 miles, 55 miles per hour, so really flying along.
Right in this area, if I can pull it up there. Yeah, it's a little bit mixed. You can see a broad area rotation, so this is not tight. We know when we're looking at velocity, I know this is a lot of color, but when we're looking at velocity, we see greens and reds, outbound and inbound winds, and what we're looking for is a little bit of red and a little bit of green right up against each other, like a really tight little area, sort of like this. But you can see there's a lot of green on the east end of this. We have a very broad rotation. When you're looking at the red colors, they're moving away from that radar site that you see up there in Mobile out to the northwest. And the green color is moving away, or I should say rather towards it. Away is red, towards it is green, and it comes together as a counterclockwise area of rotation. What we're looking at right now seems to be a bit too broad for potentially a tornado to touch down, but there's enough rotation there that the Weather Service in Mobile, watching this one very closely, as we get rid of velocity, you can just see how mundane this looks. It just looks like an ordinary thunderstorm that you see potentially through the summertime, but when you peel back the layers and show what's going on velocity, you can see a lot about what's going on inside of a system, and in this case, a storm. So moving off to the northeast very quickly with that west end of Escambia County, right up 292, I believe, Bellevue. I mean, we're right here at the station on the west side of town. We have NAS kind of in this zone here, Warrington as well, and Perdido Key kind of right under the barrel as well as you go up the river and up that bay area. These are the next spots that need to be watching this very closely. If you are in Warrington or at the base, I don't think you're underneath this polygon, but you're awfully close. And something to watch if you are awake watching us. Thank you for watching us. You can also follow us along on our website, and you can follow us along on our Facebook and Twitter too, WEAR News, if you do lose power. But yes, if you are within this red polygon in that end of Baldwin County and far western Escambia County, Florida, please get in your safe zone, turn up the TV real loud, and let us handle this. And over the next, I'd say, 10 to 11 minutes or so, this will likely expire because it has gotten so broad at this point, the rotation. But the Weather Service doing a fantastic job. They're just making sure that, all their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted there. So let's go back to the rotation.
We've got another shot too. Let's check out Perdido Key on our WeatherNet.
Let's do it, yeah.
If Brian will take that full.
Big board there.
Obviously it's not the best view here, because it is night and it's dark, but this is at the fire station out at Perdido Key. That little thing right in the center, that's just so I can move the camera around, but you could see the flag that is just getting whipped around there, and Perdido Key and where the fire station is under the tornado warning, and this system is just coming flying through there with just incredible winds here, and we've already seen some wind gusts as it was moving through southwest Alabama that were over 50 miles per hour, and that's what we're continuing to see. There's somebody out on the roads that's down there driving on the Key. So we're watching that, and and then back to radar data. As we take a look at this, you can see what we've got here. There's the velocity data. So that's now running through Baldwin County. We've got actually a couple of different areas here.
2 spots now, right?
2 spots. We're looking at that one spot right there, and then this one spot back here, where it's indicating rotation. And these storms are just flying along. As you take a look at that. So in Baldwin County, just north of Perdido Bay, is where we're seeing some of that. So this tornado warning is continuing in that area here until 2:30 is what we've got with that and you could see that, and there it is in the motion. So we were watching these.
Each other.
We were watching these as they were offshore a little bit earlier on. These little cells, and now they're moving onshore, and that's why this tornado warning has been issued for that area. So that's, the velocity, we were explaining this earlier, if you're just joining us, the velocity data, basically what we look at is when you see the cool colors like the greens, the bright greens, and then the reds close together, that's an indication of rotation. Right. So you've got the cool colors are headed toward the radar, and then the warm colors of red are headed away from the radar. So when that's close together, you've got particles, usually raindrops, going in different directions, which indicate the potential for some rotation. May have been a water spout, maybe some rotation in it. And as you see that velocity now, it does appear around Perdido Bay, right there over Baldwin County. It appears to be somewhat broadening or spreading out a little bit. So that's what we want to continue
especially
to
the
see
one on the
with
north
that.
side. That north side, I mentioned a couple minutes ago how broad it was, and now it kind of has a sister or brother there on the south end, just to the southeast of Orange Beach. And this one definitely looks a little bit more put together. The reds are a little bit more confined. The greens, the cool colors Alan referred to them as, are a little bit more condensed, where this one's a little bit broader, a lot of it extending out into Escambia County, Florida. This one's a little bit more tightened together. You can definitively see the red and definitively see the green kind of moving in that counterclockwise action. Let me widen out a little bit, see what's going on there.
This is moving northeast at 60 miles per hour,
60.
too, so it's flying along. We were showing you some of those camera views as well. So, it's moving quickly around that area of Perdido Bay, right along the Perdido Bay, Baldwin County area is where we're basically seeing the worst part of that storm, and that's where that tornado warning is. One little red polygon showing up on our map. I'm going to check back in on some of these. Let me. I'm going to check back in on some of these cameras.
We'll get a radar just so everybody can see what this looks like.
Perdido Key.
Want to show
so
that?
we had a pretty good. Let's look at that Perdido Key camera again. We'll bring that up. Our American flag out there at the fire station was. Still is just whipping around there. This area under the tornado warning. We were showing some rotation potentially out over those Gulf waters that was still to move onshore, and then also around Perdido Bay over Baldwin County, some of that already moved over the fire station out at Perdido Key. We'd also been checking just hang out with me, this is going to get a little bit crude for a second, but we'll check out that, there it is, the Island House Hotel cam. So this is out of Orange Beach, Alabama, and it looks like that things there, it's still pouring down rain there around Orange Beach.
It's calmed down a little bit.
And it's still pretty breezy as you take a look at that scene, but it's not quite as rough as it was looking a little bit earlier on. So that's our view from Orange Beach, Alabama. And I tell you, let's see if we can get this Perdido Key view, and we'll bring this back out. Yeah, it is really blowing around that area of Perdido Key. We'll zoom this out. We'll see. I'll flip this camera around a little bit. We'll see if we could see anything else. So there's another flag. Actually, that might be a little bit better view.
Got another
with a
person
little
out
bit more
there
light.
Driving on the road.
Yeah, they're driving right through a tornado warning. I would
be careful.
I'd prefer to be in a safe spot, but there's the entrance to the fire station, and you could see how things are looking with the flag. And that's a wind. That's indicating a wind that is right out of the south, and that's what we were expecting as these storms were going to be moving through a strong south wind, and we are getting some pretty incredible gusts. All right, so
got a new severe thunderstorm warning too, if you want to mention that. It's for our friends up there in Century. Yeah, the details on that, Alan. Probably goes until 3 o'clock in the morning, I would imagine. This one's stretching out that way. This one likely for 60-mile-per-hour winds. If it's not going to be the tornadoes, it's going to be the wind. That's kind of the two threats, if you will, that we're watching: tornadoes and damaging winds. So you kind of pick your poison there. We do have the tornado warning still. No tornado confirmed. I mean, Alan talked about some of the tornadoes back out to the west, tornado warnings rather. It's hard to get a confirmation on anything at this time of night, but still treat it like a tornado's on the ground. Absolutely, go to your safe area. Do not want to be out or see people driving around. Please don't do that. I mean, if you have to be out, at least have a way to get warnings, something to listen to. You can see where this is going, by the way. It's going to be moving into parts of Conecuh County and then eventually the eastern end of Escambia County, Alabama. Bruton likely to see some pretty heavy torrential rainfall, and also, like you saw on those WeatherNet cameras, likely some 60-mile-per-hour winds or something close to that. And then eventually that will push into Covington County and kind of out of our immediate viewing area. With the southern end of the line, not really seeing anything in terms of severe weather, severe thunderstorm warnings rather, but that tornado warning can kind of go both ways in terms of the wind. So you should definitely watch out. As if you're in Pensacola watching this, now is not the time to be outside, even though you're not technically under any type of warning in Pensacola. Absolutely, things could change very quickly, which we've seen the entire night, just a slew of different types of warnings and alerts as we kind of get in a little bit closer there and just look exactly where we are there over the bay, as Alan was talking about. Still a lot of heavy rainfall kind of masking things. I'm going to look at the rotation one more time and see what's going on inside this. It was a little bit broad when we saw it last. You can still see it. It is pretty broad. So we still have a little bit of an encapsulation of the green, but a lot of red. This is a very, very large rotation now, which is some good news. It has kind of weakened a little bit. And then we have the other rotation kind of on the bottom of the screen. This one's a little bit more packed in, a little bit more tightly. I'd say this rotation just east of Orange Beach, maybe a little bit more concerning out of the two. We have one on the south end right there of the bay, and then we have another little batch of rotation, maybe a stone's throw, 7 miles, 5 miles off to the northeast. So 2 areas of rotation there, right between Orange Beach all the way to Perdido Key, and then up into the bay, Perdido River, and then far western Escambia County, Florida. And then obviously very heavy rainfall within all of that too. As I put it back in motion, let's see if I can do that. Let's get rid of that and put that back in motion. Moving to the northeast very quickly. So, Cantonment all the way down 29, Ferry Pass. We have Bellevue, Beulah, those communities to the north and northwest of Pensacola. You're not under any type of tornado warning, but obviously you see which way the polygon is directed. It's directed off kind of that way. Not under any type of warning, but if you are awake, if you are watching us, please be ready for it just in case. Most interior location of your household. Those are great places to be when you are under tornado warning or really any type of severe thunderstorm warning. So get away from the windows. Now is not the time to be sightseeing. And maybe even hearing a little bit of the rain here. You can see very heavy rainfall and a little bit of lightning now beginning to blend into Pensacola. So really now beginning our portion of the storm, our stage of the storm, Northwest Florida. Things are kind of beginning to ramp up here with that lone tornado warning right there.
Yeah,
on the
and
west
it looks like they've said that the tornado warning, they're expiring that tornado warning for Baldwin in Escambia County. So what we're likely to see is that drop off, that red polygon to drop off the map here. Although it's set to expire at 2:30, or maybe we've got
2 minutes,
another minute on that at any rate. But they are letting that one go. So as you saw as well with that, the rotation on it not looking as intense as it was a little bit earlier on. It was
Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, whoops, yep, you're right about that thing. Hang on,
go up a little
back
bit.
up for you.
There you go.
Yeah, so you could see that earlier on it had that rotation indicated, and now it's not showing that as much. So that's gonna. The threat is gone. All right, we've still got windy weather and such out there, but if you're in your safe place around Perdido Bay and you're warned for that tornado, whether you're in Baldwin County or Escambia County, Florida, the threat from that is no longer there when it comes to a tornado. So you can come out of your safe spot and just know that these storms are going to pass through the area soon. And the worst of the weather is now going to be heading on into areas like Santa Rosa County. And then a little bit later on during these overnight hours, we'll move into Okaloosa County. Severe thunderstorm warning, though, is in effect for those areas in northern Santa Rosa and Escambia counties. That's in effect until 3 o'clock in the morning. So about 30 more minutes on that. We're basically looking for the potential of damaging winds with that storm that's moving through. So all of this striking Pensacola, Milton, up towards Century, and this whole line is moving toward the east at about 50 miles per hour. So it's going to continue to track over Santa Rosa County and then ultimately over Okaloosa County as well. So looking at some information from the National Weather Service, they're just basically discussing up around Century in that particular storm. So the worst part of that cell is near Century and is shifting on up into Escambia County, Alabama, where it's going to be moving through areas near Bruton and then moving on up toward Covington County as well as we head through the next 30 minutes or so with that particular cell. You know, we're talking about this warning right there. So that is a severe thunderstorm warning. All right, so now we did have that tornado warning that was down here around Perdido Bay. That one has been allowed to expire, so no longer are we seeing that threat around there, so we're happy to report that. Let's look again, you know, as you look back here, you can see that velocity data, so we were seeing those spinning and then it weakened out, which is good. Elsewhere, we'll just continue to watch that, you know, overall picture, you know, as we look at things here from this storm system. This is a monster. I mean, check this out. This thing extends all the way up into the Midwest. The blue on the map, that's all snow. I mean, that's all indicating. I mean, look, there's some heavy snow up north of the Ohio River Valley. You know, they're getting snow around Cincinnati, Covington, some of those areas. And then we're on the warm area. So down here, we've got the warm weather, and this is the warm part of the system, and this is the worst part. Certainly for us, that's what we're seeing, the strong thunderstorms move through right in the middle of the night, as well as what's happening with this is it's now 2:30 in the morning with these thunder cells pushing on through. So tornado watch also continues until 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be watching these storms as they move over. I mean, they're right on top of areas like Pensacola. We'll hang out here a little bit longer, and then we'll break back to regular programming here in a little bit. And let's check out our winds, too, as we look at those. We saw some pretty good wind gusts, too, earlier, didn't we, Joseph?
55, I think, right? Next graphic, I believe, is our wind gust as of midnight. 55-mile-per-hour wind gusts there at the airport. Now, this is only a very select few areas. Maybe some local wind data would show higher. Some of those severe thunderstorm warnings, so completely opposite to a tornado warning, completely different, I should say. Those were reading, or potentially reading up to 60. We don't have any of that on the map, but absolutely. At the high end, we could see 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, which in its own right could do some damage, and that would be a concern. If you're not seeing the tornadoes, like I said, you're going to see something of the sorts, potentially a severe thunderstorm warning, and both are not ideal with the wind still out of the south. The front is not through, Alan. That front is still sitting pretty far back out to the west. Once that front is through, we'll start to see kind of a ramp down. If I had to guess, it's probably right there on the Mississippi-Alabama state border, that cold front, beginning to now move into southwest Alabama. For us, it's still warm, humid, and we're still seeing that south wind. And there's that severe thunderstorm warning I was talking about, where you could potentially see 60-mile-per-hour winds right in that yellow shaded area up there near Century, and then eventually Escambia County, Alabama. Maybe I'll zoom back in on that a little bit so you can see exactly where this portion of the line is, intensifying. Bruton, Alabama, likely watching that too very closely. That's right up 29 as we kind of push into Alabama there. So very heavy rainfall with some pockets of potential 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, or at the very least, very high wind gusts that you don't want to be caught out in. And this will go all the way till 3 o'clock in the morning. So we still got about 27 minutes on that before it pushes into the fringes of Covington County, and that's going to be kind of out of our viewing area just north of Okaloosa County. But this is the only alert we have right now. We do not have any tornadic alerts, which is great. Not seeing anything in terms of a tornado right now. But still, tornado watch, like Alan said, goes until 5 o'clock in the morning, so we are not quite done with this. You can see what it does include. A few areas up there in southern Alabama, running all the way east to Okaloosa County. If you do live in Walton County on east, or know anybody that does live out towards Dothan, maybe towards Tallahassee, watching potentially for some form of an extension. It's not guaranteed, but right now, tornado watch only including this little sliver of northwest Florida, our portion of northwest Florida, and we'll continue to watch this. We have a morning show at 4:30, by the way, with meteorologist Brooke Richardson, so no doubt if we do see some straggling thunderstorms there on the east end for parts of Okaloosa County, she'll be covering that too, Alan.
Yeah, let's take a look too at our beach cam. We're going to check things out down from Santa Rosa Island, and here's the view. As you can see, we've got. It looks fairly calm, actually, but what's going to happen is things are going to be changing. There's a flash of lightning in the skies. We're not seeing tons and tons of lightning. I mean, a lot of times with these storms, it was cool today, too. Temperatures all day in the 50s, so we had temperatures in the 50s throughout today, and then we're seeing the warm surge of air here late tonight, and there's a view along the coast. Now, we'll keep checking in on this camera as things are going to start to get windier there as that thunderstorm line and cluster of storms does approach this area and moves through. It's a little easier to see as well down there at Santa Rosa Island, where we've got more light than it was, say, from Perdido Key. In fact, check out that Perdido Key camera. Let's take a look at that. We were seeing tremendous winds there from Perdido Key. I'm trying to. The flag looks like it still looks like it's pretty much out of the south, maybe a little bit west of south at this time, as it may have shifted a little bit with that storm moving through. But this is right there on the coast. That's our Perdido Key Fire Station camera, our WeatherNet camera, and this area was under a tornado warning, and we got back on the air. We're not under any tornado warnings right now, but we're just hanging out here late night with you as the storms are probably rumbling through. Maybe they woke you up and you decided to join us and tune in, and we're going to be watching these as we head through the night. And as soon as tornado warnings are issued, we do come back on the air. But yeah, we'll watch that beach cam as well and check things out around the area. So let's check out radar here again and look back at this. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for some areas of Alabama as well as the interior portions of northwest Florida, up around Jay, up around Century. This severe thunderstorm warning looks like the bulk of that and the worst part of the storm is now really closing in on Bruton, Alabama. But the main threat from this is going to be damaging winds, winds of 60 miles per hour or even greater. And this particular severe thunderstorm warning continues until 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's probably still breezy around Century in those areas, but the weather may be starting to improve for some of those spots as we check out the areas south down toward Pace. We've got very heavy rain falling around some of those areas. I mean, this is just tremendous rainfall that's hitting and very windy weather. So we had the high wind warning that was issued a little bit earlier on, and we were expecting those wind gusts potentially to be up around 50 miles per hour or even more. And I was thinking, that's pretty incredible, especially out ahead of the storms. But it does appear that most of those wind gusts are actually within this storm line now and not so much out ahead of it. The gusts out ahead, we're on the high side, though. I mean, we're seeing them up around 30 miles per hour and even higher, but now we're really seeing them as the storm line is moving through, and you're checking this area here, that's around Pensacola where we've got some of that heavy rain starting to move from Perdido Bay over toward areas. Here's downtown Pensacola, yet to be, it's already been hit with some of the heavy rain as it moved on up toward Pace, up around the Ferry Pass area, West Florida Hospital area. We've got some heavy rain that's striking some of those spots at this time. But the alerts we have right now, it's a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Santa Rosa and Escambia, Florida, although it looks like the strongest part of the storm is now up around Bruton, Alabama, which is also under that severe thunderstorm warning until 3 o'clock. And then we've got just this batch of showers that extends back on down toward areas out over those Gulf waters. Let's look at that. There's some more lightning strikes. You can see lightning here. There's a lot more lightning strikes out actually over those Gulf waters. Temperatures may be a little bit warmer down there too, but that's where we're seeing more of the lightning strikes, and not quite as many. We were seeing some flashes with our beach cam here and there over northwest Florida. If you look closely, you can see some of those strikes, like right in that area right there. You can see some of those strikes indicated by our lightning detection showing up on the map there. I want to check too and take a look at our velocity data and just see if anything kind of stands out here again around Gulf shores and some of these spots. All right, that's using the Mobile site. My scope here is not in this particular case, not really finding anything in particular that stands out at this time. But this is moving toward the east. The whole system is moving east. Let me time out some of this for you also, and we'll get an idea of what we're expecting to be hit next. As we check out this line that's basically running right through here, right in central Santa Rosa County. So they've been moving east at about 50 miles per hour. So we'll time this out for some of the communities that are, downwind of this, down the river here, as you can see. This is getting very close to Munson already. Some heavy rain starting to get into that area. Mary Esther, that's in the southern portion of Okaloosa County near Fort Walton Beach area, and that's going to be closer toward about 3 o'clock, about 20 minutes from now. We can expect that storm to be in that area. Crestview, we're looking at closer to 3 a.m. or so that the storm will be moving through that area. Niceville, more like 3:15-ish. On that this is an estimate on the times of when the storms are going to be moving through. But right now, the worst of the weather is right on top of areas around Pensacola, around Milton, Santa Rosa County really getting hit with some of that very heavy rain, and then out over these Gulf waters. This is going to be moving onshore around Santa Rosa Island and striking some areas like Gulf Breeze as well. Let's check out that beach cam shot again. Let's see how it looks out there at Santa Rosa Island. And there's our live view. That is the Hardee's beach cam. So Hilton at Pensacola Beach is where we have that camera. We show it every day, every night, and you can see how it's looking. Parking lot's fairly full around there too, so maybe some visitors in the area. If you are, thanks for joining us here on WEAR TV. There's a flash of lightning. This is our continuing coverage throughout the overnight hours of the severe thunderstorm line that has been moving from Texas through Louisiana, and now it is right on top of us in northwest Florida. There it is, the heavy rain falling around the area, a few strikes of lightning here and there, and this is going to continue to be eastbound, soon to be moving over areas of Okaloosa County. So we've got, another, while this is in the area, we've got, depending on where you are, another hour, hour and a half, 2 hours of this thunderstorm line moving over these portions of northwest Florida that are included within the WEAR TV zone. And you're looking at the wind indicators too. It's such a strong south wind that's coming up with these thunderstorms, and this is what's been blowing very hard around northwest Florida. And then what's happening is it's shifting, and then back behind this next weather maker, we're seeing more of a west wind, and that's what we're going to be seeing here as we head into tomorrow morning. Thankfully, though, Joseph, we're not seeing any tornado warnings at this time, so glad to report on that.
That's what I've been looking at. It's just tough to get rotation right now as this line kind of comes together a little bit. It was so broken earlier, and that was one of the big reasons why we were having several tornado warnings in Alabama. The line had broken apart quite a bit. Now it's kind of coming back together, and a lot of that actually has to do with the cold front itself, and it is a cold front, believe it or not, that is kind of hiding back out to the west. And this cold front's sort of catching up to the line of storms, and it's kind of pushing it all together, kind of smushing it together and making this a little bit more linear, a little bit more of a consolidated line. And as this line comes together, sort of eliminates the tornado threat, although it keeps the wind threat, and that is the concern. Alan talking about that south wind kind of feeding everything. So even though it looks like tornado warnings, maybe not as numerous as an hour ago, still need to watch for some pretty powerful thunderstorms that no doubt could wake you up there in Okaloosa County. If you are watching from Okaloosa County, good morning, and you are next here for the storms over the next, I'd say, hour or so. Alan said about 3:15, around that mark for portions of Fort Walton Beach up to Niceville, up to Crestview, probably in the next 30 to 45 minutes, I would say so. And then by the time we get to 4 o'clock in the morning, this is going to start to exit out east. Maybe some straggling thunderstorms 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning for the east end of Choctawhatchee Bay, Walton County, but at a certain point this will be in a much more favorable position for us. By that I mean, well, not raining. We'll be beginning to dry out, although it will stay pretty windy. I believe I do have potentially a future cast on here, and I can kind of time it out for you as I surge ahead here. You can see where we are right now at about 2 o'clock. This is 3:30. 3:30, it's beginning to move into Okaloosa County. 4 o'clock, Okaloosa County is beginning to move on out. By 4:30 to 5, now we're at the end of the tornado watch, so pretty good timing here. The National Weather Service putting on this tornado watch for our viewing area all the way to Crestview by about 5 o'clock. Well, there you go. By 5 o'clock, this thing is moving out, so some pretty nice timing from the National Weather Service on that tornado watch, because at 5 a.m., technically speaking, our immediate viewing area, which does go all the way to Crestview and then omits a portion of Walton County, you are in the clear. But if you are watching from Walton County, and I don't want to omit you guys, if you are watching, you will likely hang on a little bit, maybe to about the 6 o'clock hour, and then by 6 to 7, just about all of us are in the clear. It's just going to be that wind out of the west and some straggling clouds. It'll be a pretty nice day, but still cloudy, so you can't get it all, evidently. Here are the winds. You can see the max wind gusts we've seen since midnight, so over the last 2 hours and 45 minutes. We haven't really seen these numbers jump up much here in northwest Florida. You can see that 55-mile-per-hour wind gust there out of Mobile. I believe that's at the regional airport just to the west of downtown. A 55-mile-per-hour wind gust is basically a severe wind gust. Severe winds come at 60 miles per hour or higher, so a pretty significant wind gust out there. Certainly would make sense considering all of the thunderstorms we've seen. You can see all the alerts put on one graphic. The yellow shaded area, the big yellow shaded area, that's the tornado watch that goes until 5 a.m. That other yellow shaded area near Century, Just to the northeast of Century, that's a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're not seeing any red shaded areas, which would indicate tornado warnings. So a much better situation here. Our last tornado warning was down there in Perdido Key near Gulf Shores as well. That has expired. But here at 2:45, only seeing that lone severe thunderstorm warning up near Century and a whole lot of rain. That's what we're watching as we look and go back to some of our more traditional radar. 3 o'clock in the morning for portions of Escambia, portions of Santa Rosa, and then Conecuh County on that far southern end before it moves into Covington County and is now out of our viewing area. Just to make it a little bit more clear as to what is actually a tornado watch versus any of these warnings. Here is just the tornado watch by itself. It goes till 5 o'clock in the morning. I do want to mention, I know we probably still have a couple people out of southwest Alabama. You know, Washington, Monroe, and Mobile counties, they've all been basically been allowed to expire. So if you are watching from Mobile, you can at this point go to bed.
Yeah, that's nice. This lets people know, say in Mobile County, hey, this threat is no longer there. So they dropped the tornado watch from that area, but it does still continue across northwest Florida and Baldwin County as well, as we're still watching some of those showers and storms moving through the area. I want to take it to a live shot now that we've got out of Alabama. So you can see this view right here. This is, it looks like we've got, it looks like firefighters or somebody. Yeah, it looks like firefighters up on a roof. So if you look to the left, it looks like this is a tree down that has fallen on a structure on a house here that is, and they're covering it with a tarp. I'm told that this is in Bay Minette, so there's some storm damage where a tree has fallen down, likely done some damage to the roof, and they're putting a tarp out there on that. Although the rain is going to be moving out of the area, which is good news, but they've got to clean up there. So those guys working hard late tonight as the storms are moving away from that area, and we can see that. So that's actually that is a live view right now, from what I'm told, is in Bay Minette of some storm damage there in that part. Bay Minette is in Baldwin County, Alabama, and we have seen some incredible wind gusts around the area. So far, the highest one we reported was 55 miles per hour out of Mobile, and we're just continuing to see some very windy weather in the area. Maybe we'll check back in on this shot in a second. Let's check out also, I would like to see the Santa Rosa Island shot as well, as the storms are beginning to close in on areas around Santa Rosa Island. Here's the view down there at Pensacola Beach from the Hardee's Beach Cam. Hilton at Pensacola Beach, where we keep that camera. And it's quiet at the island. I mean, here it is approaching 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's nice to see. We don't see much in the way of traffic down there. And it doesn't look like this area is really being hit quite yet, but I'm anticipating it's going to look a bit more active here with some of these showers that are moving on shore. So radar is showing it and all that rainy weather that's out over the Gulf waters. Santa Rosa Island in that part we were looking at is right there is where our beach cam is, and it looks like some of that heavy rain is moving onshore right at about this time. You know, all these individual cells are shifting very quickly up toward the northeast at about 50 to even 60 miles per hour is what we've seen in some cases with some of these warnings. And, you know, overall, as we check this whole thing, this is, you know, moving toward the east, and it's going to be moving into areas of Okaloosa County. I'm running out of space there on my map, but it's going to be moving into some of those other communities here as we head right on through these overnight hours and into the early morning hours of Wednesday, as really we already are. So stopping it, and you can see some of the lightning detection showing some of those lightning strikes as well. That tornado watch still does continue for Baldwin County, but this back edge here of this sort of disorganized line is now beginning to move into areas of northwest Florida. It will be moving out of Baldwin County over Perdido Bay and in toward areas around Pensacola. So some lightning strikes showing up here on our map, and then we were seeing a lot more lightning actually out offshore, out over those Gulf waters. And some of this rain is now closing in on areas around Navarre. This is weaker as you take a look at some of those spots on the map there. And then we've got heavy rain here from Pace that's shifting on over toward Milton as well. Let's put this back into motion, and that's just going to be, that looks like about 15, maybe 30 minutes of imagery as we're checking that out with these thunderstorms moving through. Looks like the rain is starting to intensify down there at Santa Rosa Island as we'll go back to that beach cam shot.
Started.
Yeah, so it's starting to come down. You know, I'd look for those palm trees to be waving around as well. Because when we were looking at the camera out of Orange Beach and out of Perdido Key, that wind was just howling out of the south, really blowing, and these are moving on shore with a pretty good bit of, no doubt, windy weather around those areas. We've been continuing to look at velocity data as well on radar, and basically looking for anything that would show up indicating rotation. We're seeing, this spot out there, out over the Gulf waters, that might be something that we watch. It's a pretty good distance away from the radar as well, but as that continues to shift on up into this direction, if we do see some rotation within these individual cells, we might see some areas that'll be warned for that. So why don't we do this now as we're closing in on 3 o'clock. We're going to take a break now. We don't have any tornado warnings at this time. It's just a tornado watch. A warning is when you have more imminent danger, but it is a line of showers that's moving through. So we're going to take a break. We're going to watch out for what's out over those Gulf waters, because if some of this does start spinning around and ends up moving on shore, we will see a tornado warning, and we'll let anybody know here in Northwest Florida what's going on with that. So we're going to send it back to regular programming, and we'll be back on the air with new information when we have it. Let's take a view from some of our cameras here around and along the northern Gulf Coast. Still some breezy and rainy weather down at Santa Rosa Island as we take a look at the Hardee's Beach Cam view. That's from the Hilton at Pensacola Beach. The wind has really been whipping, especially along these coastal areas. Looks like it is pretty quiet down there at Santa Rosa Island. Also, a reminder, our morning show starts in just 1 hour. We'll have coverage on the storms, where they are and where they are headed. Brooke is in for that coming up our morning show in just about an hour. Here is a view from downtown Pensacola. The ballpark is lit up here during these early morning hours. Our City Hall cam view looking across Main Street there to the ballpark. It looks like the winds aren't quite as ferocious as they were, but I tell you what, this line of showers is producing some pretty windy weather around the area. We've seen some pretty high wind gusts. Yeah, and we had the high wind warning that was issued as well. So as you look at this map, this is the tornado watch. Now, a tornado watch does continue until 5 o'clock in the morning here for these yellow highlighted areas. So that's Northwest Florida. Baldwin County, the threat is gone. That'll soon be dropped from the watch. The worst of the weather is now really, I'll show you on radar, but it's right over Santa Rosa County, moving into Okaloosa County as well. And we do have a new alert to tell you about, and that is this severe thunderstorm warning. So this is going to rumble right on through these areas of Northwest Florida. We're talking about this zone right here. Around Navarre Beach, getting hit with some very heavy rain and windy weather, and that's soon going to be moving over Fort Walton Beach, and then ultimately Destin. Already it looks like some of that rainy weather is up there around Crestview. Let me throw this into motion for you here, and you can see how this looks as we take a look at it. So here's the information. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 4:15. So that's going to go for about 45 minutes from now over this area of southern Santa Rosa and Okaloosa counties. Damaging winds will be the main threat from this particular line of thunderstorms that's moving through. Rather large area, too, that is being warned for as we take a look at this polygon. You know, you're looking at this zone right here around Choctawhatchee Bay, you know, extending up there, up toward Duke Field, you know, very close to Crestview, including Destin, including Fort Walton Beach, areas like the Wright community, Navarre included in that as well. And then, of course, a large portion of the Eglin Reservation is within that. So a severe thunderstorm warning for that particular area. Let's look at kind of where some of the strongest part of this storm is. We will zoom it on in to this area right here. This is right over Navarre. We're starting to see some more lightning strikes as well. We weren't seeing as much lightning with this thunderstorm activity. Most of it was way out over the Gulf waters, but now this is moving on shore. We've got a lot of lightning strikes. So you've got Navarre Beach right here. You've got Navarre here, and that's where some of that heavy rain is. You know, and this whole thing is moving toward the east, really at a pretty good pace at about 50 miles per hour or so is what we've been seeing with that. And we'll see how it times out for some of the other communities here and how things are going to be looking around the area. So let's take a look at this as we zoom it out. You know, as this is now beginning to move over areas of Okaloosa County, we will time things out for the folks that aren't yet being hit by some of this thunderstorm activity. So let's shift on forward in time here as this is I mean, it's moving at a pretty good 45, 50 miles per hour. So we'll click it right there, and you can see some of the communities here that will be hit by this line, which it's become a little bit more organized now, this line of severe thunderstorms. So Fort Walton Beach, I mean, it's soon. It's going to be, it's really closing in on Fort Walton Beach and Mary Esther in that area. You're probably hearing the thunder and lightning there. And also already getting some heavy rain. Miramar Beach down the road a little bit. You've got Defuniak Springs, that's in Walton County, closer to 4 o'clock for that area, as we time it out. But this is right on top of Santa Rosa, southern Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa counties. The northern part up here around Crestview, too, some very heavy rain. So this line is now more put together than it was when it was over southwest Alabama. We had several tornado warnings, maybe a half dozen tornado warnings that included areas of Mobile and Baldwin counties. That was earlier this morning or just after midnight. And then we did have one that included southwest Escambia County, including Perdido Key that was issued. We were seeing rotation out over the Gulf waters, and then that was moving onshore. A tornado warning was issued for it. We have not heard any reports of damage from that, and these have been radar indicated. As we look for rotation at this time, this is our velocity data as we take it back right on through the last 30 minutes, and we are not seeing anything right now that stands out. We don't have any tornado warnings either. It's just a strong line of thunderstorms that's moving through the area. If we were seeing some colors like reds and greens very close together, then that would indicate a chance for some rotation. We're not seeing like that like we were a little bit earlier on in the early morning hours or just after midnight when we were seeing that. But here's the bigger picture, and this is that line of thunderstorms. So you could see how earlier on, this is 3 hours of imagery, earlier on over southwest Alabama, it was more busted up, and then as it continued to move here over northwest Florida, it's actually put itself back together. This is a little bit more like it looked when it was back over Texas and Louisiana, and this particular line produced many tornadoes there in Texas and some in Louisiana as well, and now a little bit of wind damage. We had a wind damage report of a tree on a house in Bay Minette. That's in Baldwin County, Alabama, in the northern part of that county. And I want to show you just how big this whole thing is. So just look at this. This is just really an incredible overall storm system. And it's, look at that. So folks up in the Midwest up here, I mean, that blue color on the map, that is snow. So they're dealing with snowy weather with this, and I always call this the kind of the rat tail. Doesn't it look like a little rat tail right there? As it extends all the way down here to the northwest Florida, northern Gulf Coast area. So what a just huge storm system that we've got there now with the worst of the weather right there in the southern portion of Santa Rosa and Okaloosa counties where we have that alert and that severe thunderstorm warning. So that continues here until 4:15, and then the tornado watch is this yellow highlighted area. Again, Baldwin County no longer under a threat. That county will soon be dropped from the tornado watch, and then we'll likely see that soon for Escambia County, Florida as well, because really this threat has moved on from Pensacola. It's moving away from Milton. It's right on top of Navarre, and it's headed toward, it's going to be moving through Fort Walton Beach and Destin and some areas like that, right on up Highway 85, as well as where we're seeing some of that. As we look at our winds right now, these winds, the strongest winds are actually going to be kind of shifting in this area now. This may be a little bit behind, but we were seeing some pretty good wind gusts here earlier on. In fact, our wind gust out of Mobile was 55 miles per hour. William from NorthEscambia.com reported a 54 mile per hour wind gust, that out of Northview High School. That's in Bratt, in the community of Bratt. Thank you, William from NorthEscambia.com for that report. So that, 54 miles per hour. We've got Milton showing a 53 mile per hour wind gust. And these numbers are likely to change as that thunderstorm line is now going to be moving into areas of Okaloosa County. So around Pensacola, we're showing a 47 mile per hour wind gust. Earlier, it was a 39 mile per hour wind gust, and now that number has gone up. Something interesting, too, as we take a look at our temperatures, we saw weather that was much cooler during the daytime hours on Tuesday. Now we're officially into Wednesday, and the temperatures warmed up overnight. So we had 50s all day long on Tuesday, and then this surge of warm air with a warm front moved through the area during these overnight hours. And you can see that we've got Milton and Crestview at 70 degrees, Destin at 71, Navarre at 69, and that's where the worst of the weather is, right in this warm pocket right there. But back behind it, it's starting to cool down already, where we've got some mid to low 60s showing up in areas of southwest Alabama where the weather has started to calm down. Let's take a look at our beach cam view. Rob, if you'll pop that up for me. Good morning to you as well. I know I haven't seen you yet, but thanks for helping us out here this morning. There is a live view. That is the Hardee's beach cam. Hilton at Pensacola Beach is where we have the camera, and you can see it's still raining there, but again, the strongest part of the storm has moved east and away from this area, but very windy weather was spotted here along our coastal areas, and as you saw, those wind gusts were pretty incredible. So a tornado watch continues here for Northwest Florida until 5 o'clock in the morning, really with the threat now in eastern Santa Rosa County, as well as Okaloosa County, Walton County also, and then a tornado watch does continue areas to the east, and we may see more alerts for those folks that are down the road, but our WEAR TV zone still included within this watch at this time. And again, looking at the radar imagery and our map, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that includes areas Fort Walton Beach, Navarre, areas of Okaloosa County from, it looks like really right around or just north of Interstate 10 near Crestview on down Highway 85 through Duke Field down toward Destin, as well under this severe thunderstorm warning, which is in effect until 4:15. So thunder and lightning, rumbles of thunder here. With that, we're seeing much more activity when it comes to lightning. So this is a bit of a different type of storm than what we were seeing earlier with rotation. This just has a chance for damaging winds. And of course, there's a lightning threat as well. I was seeing off camera here from one of our, punch up our weather net, please, if you will, and we can see how things look and which camera we're looking at from our weather net group. Gulfarium camera. Yeah, let's take a look at that. So Rob, if you'll hit the weather net button, we'll be able to see that. It doesn't have the banner and stuff. It looks a little bit crude right now, but what's that? No, not Max 2. It's WeatherNet source. Just start punching stuff. Let's see what happens, man. There we go. All right, that's a yeah. He's a young guy too, man. It's like old guys like me. We're afraid to punch buttons and stuff. We won't just hit the button, but yeah, you just hit the button, right? Right, Joseph? You guys will just punch a button, drag anything around, whatever, right?
Sorry about that earlier.
No, it's all good. But that is the Gulfarium WeatherNet camera. So that area is at Okaloosa Island, and that area is under the severe thunderstorm warning. And look at that. I mean, it is flashing and flashing. Hopefully our camera doesn't get hit. Sometimes lightning will knock out some of these cameras, but we're looking in the direction right there that is we're looking toward the northwest. From the dolphin tank at the Gulfarium, and you can see it's rainy weather, and the winds are gonna be picking up there as that storm gets closer and starts moving through that area of Okaloosa Island. Maybe we can find a palm tree or something to kind of hone in on.
It's pretty dark on that south end of the camera, but you can see some of the waves out there. The camera kind of jiggling around as it feels the wind out there. You said the wind is likely to pick up, and I would probably agree with that. There's the view looking off to the southeast. Yeah, so seeing some pretty good rain.
He's on. What mic are you on?
I'm on microphone 5.
Mic 5. Yeah, but that's a view from Okaloosa Island.
Yeah.
So
that's the south
it's
view.
really rough too.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you're up now. All right, so he was talking. Folks at home, if you couldn't hear Joseph.
I was just giving the directional tour of this camera. We're now looking towards Okaloosa Pier, so our friends there in Okaloosa County know exactly where this is. Right there at the pier, you can see some of the waves kind of crashing as I move the cursor around. Still very heavy surf out there. Some coastal flooding still a concern, even as we head into the early morning hours before that wind finally switches back out of the north, or in this case, it'll be out of the west. Pretty dark out there, but you can see the lightning illuminating things. And then there's the view, like Alan said, kind of looking off towards the west. We have one of those little water towers out that way, and then that's the northwest view. Plenty of lightning and very torrential heavy rainfall. On max number 2, if you want to go to max number 2, Rob, I have the continually updating view of lightning strikes, by the way. You keep talking about lightning, Alan. There's so much right now. And yes, a lot of this is offshore, but we're beginning to see some of this spill ashore, and that's why we're kind of seeing this little last gasp of severe weather, because some of that warm, humid air, that warm front boundary, is pushing in a little bit stronger there for Okaloosa County than it did for Escambia and Santa Rosa County. So seeing, a pretty hearty thunderstorm, an end of the line of thunderstorms, pushing into Fort Walton Beach, Mary Esther, we have Valpy in that area, eventually Niceville, and then the western end of Choctawhatchee Bay. Anybody watching from Destin, good morning. I would probably say in the next 15 to 20 minutes, you'll be right within this line of thunderstorms, and you are under severe thunderstorm warning. I believe that goes until 4:15. Alan?
Yes, it does go until 4:15, so that is a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's swap it back to Max 1, please, Rob, and we'll show you again what's going on with that. So we're just hanging out here during these early morning hours. Our morning show again starts here at 4:30, and things should be a little bit more settled by then. But here's the severe thunderstorm warning area. We'll put this into motion, and you can see how those storms move through Santa Rosa County. Now the worst of the weather starting to move out of Santa Rosa County and really just covering up Okaloosa County at this time from Crestview all the way down toward Fort Walton Beach, and Destin soon will be hit by this storm as well. So severe thunderstorm warning until 4:15. We're not going to stay on the air the entire time. We do not have any tornado warning. We're not seeing any rotation within this, but damaging winds are possible. So we just want to alert our folks here in Santa Rosa and Okaloosa County, since it's the middle of the night and maybe you woke up and we're wondering what's going on. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Strum, joined by Joseph Neubauer and Brooke Richardson, who is here as well, getting ready for that morning show, which will be starting here in about 45 minutes. This is something we were looking at, the velocity product. We were looking at it earlier on, and we were seeing signs of rotation back when the storms were over southwest Alabama, back when there was one headed toward Perdido Key, and there were tornado warnings for those. I've not heard of any damage from those. There was a tree that fell on a house in Bay Minette, but from those other tornadoes or those warnings, haven't heard of any confirmed tornadoes, so hopefully that's the case, and we won't be reporting on any damage as we get into our morning show or our newscast throughout the day on Tuesday. But what I'm looking for are colors here close together, reds and greens close together, and I'm not seeing it, so that is some good news that we're not seeing rotation within these storms. But it's a heavy-duty thunderstorm. Of course, the best thing to do is just hang out in a safe place until this passes over the area, as Okaloosa County, the worst of the weather is striking that area, and it's a severe thunderstorm warning for the lower portion of Okaloosa County at this time. There's that bigger picture as well, and I really had to enjoyed zooming this way out where you could see that this is impacting such a huge portion of the nation. Up here, toward the Great Lakes and Midwest, that blue on the map, that's indicating snowfall. And then you've got this tail end right here where the strong thunderstorms are. Such a big system with totally different types of weather from one end, the top, all the way down to the bottom here across the northern Gulf Coast. Just a totally different scenario with this warm up of temperatures getting up around 70 degrees here, where this line of thunderstorms is moving through that area of northwest Florida. Let's get this back. We'll move this map back so you can see what's going on right there. So again, this is where the worst of the weather is, right here over this portion of Okaloosa County. Just hang out in a good spot until it passes over the area. Let's check out that Okaloosa Island camera view from WeatherNet one more time and see how things are looking. Yeah, it looks like
highway there. Got the bridge off in the distance too. A lot of light out there, but you kind of get the idea. Very heavy rainfall and plenty of lightning too. Let's see if we can get another flash of lightning here before the morning's out. There you go. Gulf of Mexico on the left side of your screen. That's looking off towards the south, and we have the pier also way on the other side of this camera. So right now, Fort Walton Beach, I would say seeing the worst of it at this point. We're also seeing some pretty heavy thunderstorms roll up 85 towards Crestview. Good morning if you're watching from Crestview. You're also seeing the north end of the line of storms move into town as well. Not under severe thunderstorm warning in Crestview, but if you're down 85 or you're down towards US 98 from Navarre on east towards Destin, yeah, you're seeing it right now. The wind and definitely a lot of lightning and heavy rainfall too. Alan?
Yeah, and this will continue to shift over as we look at radar imagery here. This is there's all the lightning strikes. You've got Mary Esther here in the Fort Walton Beach area. That camera is out at Okaloosa Island. It's right here. You'll be able to see it actually. This is a pretty cool shot right there. You can see that's the actual dolphin tank that's showing up on this imagery right here. And here is the pier out there right off of Okaloosa Island. So you've got the dolphin tank, and this green typically indicates more of a lot of times the green color would indicate more of a lighter rain. This is well, we had fun getting in on our view of the condos and such there, but let me take this back here. Yeah, so yeah, I'm starting to lose my data on here. I've overworked this machine here.
We could go back to max number 2. Let's do that.
Go to max 2. I'll let you.
Let's put on max number 2.
I'm gonna reset this. I punched in too many buttons, man.
Yeah, the buttons, man. It's been a long overnight. And if you've been watching us since the very beginning, thank you for doing that. This is what we do. We don't really have any tornado warnings left. The tornado risk has dropped off considerably, but still, loud thunderstorms. I have friends there in Okaloosa County, and they were going to be up early, and they're probably up right now. Plenty of lightning, and with lightning you get thunder, and there you go. Plenty of it down there in Fort Walton Beach. We've been showing you that WeatherNet camera. You can see now Escambia County, Florida, and Alabama are outside of this tornado watch, so they're letting this tornado watch expire from west to east. Santa Rosa County, Okaloosa County, and even Walton County up into Covington there in Alabama, still under tornado watch until 5 o'clock this morning. Actually, I believe Walton County goes a little bit later, but you can see they're starting to etch this out a little bit, which is great, which means we can kind of move on with our morning as the thunderstorms move out and that tornado risk essentially becomes 0%. I'd even say at this point, if you're in Santa Rosa County, you are in the clear. It's our friends in Okaloosa County, as always, seemingly last in line here for those thunderstorms. Not underneath a severe thunderstorm warning there in Crestview, but I'm sure you would attest it's heavy rainfall, it's gusty winds, and it's a little bit of thunder and lightning, so rough there. But it's as you go down towards Niceville and eventually into Fort Walton Beach, and then crossing the bridge there into Destin, that's where you're going to find the heaviest activity. We've been watching velocity for rotation. We're just not seeing it. Maybe a pocket of broad rotation there, potentially in Fort Walton Beach in this zone, but nothing meaningful that has caught the eye of the National Weather Service. So we're likely just seeing some gusty winds here rather than rotation. So that's great news. And just overall weakening trend as we've gone over the last couple of hours. So that's some good news there to kind of mull on as we wrap things up here as we head towards 4 o'clock. We're 9 till 4 here, so 3:51. Not bad. That warning goes until 4:15, by the way, so they'll likely let this go all the way to include our friends there in Miramar Beach, I'd say just on the edge of it, but especially there in Destin and on the new side of town as you go a little bit further east too. Choctawhatchee Bay will likely be pretty rough here over the next 30 minutes or so. So we're not quite done yet. We're going to watch this as it kind of pushes through southern Okaloosa County. Still a lot of lightning there on my other screen. I have that view out of the Gulfarium there in Okaloosa Island, and it just continues to be a light show there from the pier at Okaloosa Island, and very heavy rainfall too that will likely take a little bit longer to go. This line is still moving pretty quickly, but it's going to be probably another hour or so for the rest of Okaloosa Island as I try to put this on a little bit of a hour by hour for you. This is going to be pushing off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. So yeah, I would say about another hour or so, and then this thing will be off into Walton County, and then eventually moving into southeast Alabama, and then towards the Panama City area, probably once the sun's up. We're talking 6 o'clock in the morning at that point. This only goes out to about 450 there for Dothan, which is pretty far out of our viewing area, but that's just an idea of where this is going and how fast it's going. I'd say about another hour for the fringes of Okaloosa County, and by that I mean Destin and then Miramar Beach as well, right there on the edge into Walton County and our friends there in Defuniak Springs. You're going to start to see your activity ramp up there pretty shortly, I would say in the next 30 minutes or so. Again, Crestview, not under severe thunderstorm warning. It's for Fort Walton Beach, Valpy, Niceville, Fort Walton Beach to Destin, and all the communities in between, still under severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 4:15. And the main issue I would say for this will be your isolated damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. We haven't actually had a confirmation of any area seeing a 60 or above mile per hour gust. But we've been close, awfully close. We've had 53 and 55, I think, at the highest between Mobile and into Milton. But this thing definitely losing a little bit of steam, as it tends to do here real early in the morning. We start to lose a lot of our energy as the sun's been down for quite a while at this point, and now it's going to be coming up here shortly, so we're going to start to reverse things a little bit. But yeah, that's the heaviest of the activity. One other thing I wanted to show, didn't have time to show it earlier, rainfall. I've gotten a couple questions about rainfall. We had a lot over the weekend, and we're now adding on to what we saw Saturday night into Sunday, as kind of a rainy pattern has set up here since at least late last week. You can see some of the radar estimated spots. Again, this is a radar estimate, so it's not perfect, but you can see anywhere from an inch to nearly 2 inches of rain as you head up there into more interior locations of Alabama. We're talking, that's up near Clark County. We have Monroe County in that area too, Conecuh County. These spots have seen a little bit more, but some pretty decent rain totals, and we'll have some official totals out of the airport here shortly. You can see even near Navarre picking up about 1.5 inches of rain. The airport near Pensacola, let's see if I can get that. Usually that's a little bit harder to pinpoint on my graphics, but yeah, about 1 inch of rain, that probably checks out. And then we also saw some pretty heavy storms kind of training right along the coastline there near Perdido Key, and that makes more sense, getting a little bit more rain versus the airport, so 0.8 versus 1.3. So some pretty decent rain totals, maybe not quite as much as what we saw over the weekend, but the difference here is a lot of the rain fell very quickly, whereas the weekend, it all came over a 12 to 24-hour span. So this is only the last 12 hours of rainfall. Yeah, coming quickly. Haven't seen any flash flood warnings, but a lot of puddles out there. Always great advice for your morning or your afternoon commute back home. Take it slow out there. Be courteous to your neighbors. You'll get to where you need to go. I know we had Okaloosa schools starting a little bit later today. I'd say well warranted, although by about 6, 7 o'clock, it will not be raining in Okaloosa County, so you should be good to go. Don't really worry about that.
Yeah, they're on an hour. The Okaloosa County schools are on an hour delay, mainly because of the getting the buses and getting all that kind of together. So they wanted to, good call. Go ahead and just,
absolutely.
And the timing, really, the timing of these storms, if you're watching Tuesday night and Monday night, and we were running our model and showing when the storms are going to move through, the timing has been really right on. We haven't seen a lot of change with regard to timing. Sometimes we see it speed up or slow down, and this has all been right on time as it's been moving through. So again, Okaloosa County, the southern portion of the county around Fort Walton Beach, Destin included in that, right just south of Crestview, under a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're looking at the potential for very windy weather and some damaging winds here as we head right on through the next 20 minutes or so. So that particular severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 4:15. We're going to go ahead and go off the air now. We're not leaving you, not abandoning you there in Okaloosa County, but just know that some gusty winds may pass through the area, heavy rain, thunder, and lightning. But we're going to go ahead and get the studio ready and start getting ready for our morning show, which does start at 4:30 in just about 30 minutes. We'll have a full show. We hope you join us for that. Brooke Richardson will be in with an update on what the weather is looking like going forward once these showers and thunderstorms move out of the area. But that severe storm warning continues for Okaloosa County, and then as we head through the morning hours, the watch will be dropped as well as this severe storm line does continue to move toward the east. So just hang out. That'll pass through the area. We've got full coverage on our morning show in about 30 minutes. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Strum. Thanks for joining us here during these overnight hours. And if we do see anything pop up, like, say, a tornado warning, or we see some sort of rotation within that storm, we'll be back on the air immediately before our morning show starts to let you know what's going on with that.
The hardest working woman in the weather business, Brooke Richardson, been here a little bit longer than usual this morning. All the bad weather is now past, though, correct?
Yeah, should be out of the area for the most part. We do still have a few storms, Okaloosa County. Those are on their way out, though.